Welcome, welcome to How to Make a Knife.
Welcome to How to Make a Knife, everybody. This is episode 1. I am your host, Mike from Alpha Blade and Forge. And go ahead, introduce yourself.
Steve Cutter from Cutter Fabrications. Also, my side company there would be Steve Cutter Custom Knives. My Instagram is Cutter Fabrications. Facebook is also Cutter Fabrications, which might change soon. I don't know. I haven't made up that decision yet. That's something I've been thinking about for the past couple of weeks. I might change it to Steve Cutter Custom Knives fully.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
figure out.
Why so? Because I know a lot of knife makers that are trying to change away from the knife making name in order to dodge certain algorithms. Well, because there's a shadow ban on knife makers for the most part, is what I hear. I just assume that no one sees my stuff because I'm small time. But so what is your reason for bringing it away from fabrications and more towards a knife maker?
The shadow banning thing, I don't think really had to do with anybody's name as much as it had to do with the pictures. But I mean, we'll see where that goes. I think that already kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I did get some notifications. But I don't know. It's just a thought I've had, just because mainly it's going to be about knives. Like, yeah, I'll definitely do some wood stuff here and there. Like, I started with the cutting boards, but the cutting boards are basically one of the things that kind of catapulted me into the knife making anyway. So I don't know. It's something I've been mulling around. I don't know if I'm actually going to follow through with it or if I'm just going to stick with the Cutter Fabrications. We'll see.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, I like the Cutter Fabrications, honestly. I like the logo. I like how it all looks. I like that it keeps it open to anything. The bottle openers, the crowbars,
exactly.
whatever you want to do, it's all available to you. So I like that.
True.
Yeah,
that is something I've been looking to get into too. Is just other forging things other than knives. Like, yeah, knives are cool and stuff, but like you just said, the bottle openers and stuff, like that's just nostalgic stuff that people are gonna like to buy.
Yeah,
Especially
honestly, one of my favorite things I've ever made was a garden trowel for Dana, and since then I've made 3 more, which is not a knife, but I mean, it's a good tool. It's
cool.
great. It's used heavily. It looks great. I mean, something custom and heavy, and you buy a lot of them. They're cheap, light aluminum, and it's nice to have a nice, heavy, steel. So, but anyway, all right. So we are How to Make a Knife podcast. We introduced ourselves. The whole goal of this is not so much to tell you how to make a knife as much as it is we follow the journey of how do you make a knife. We are 2 amateur knife makers. We started as hobbyists. We became obsessionists, and now we are small business owners with little knife companies. And we decided we would make a podcast to kind of document how we got here, why we got here, and where we're headed. So I know there's a lot of people who got into this industry, and there's a lot of people who don't have opportunities to head into shops and talk to other knife makers, and the world's a digital place. So here's our way to kind of communicate and say what's up. We're here with you also. So we'll start with you, Steve Cutter. I guess my first question is to you is, with our origins, what got you into this? Why are you making knives? When did you start making knives, and what happened?
It's been a couple of years for me. I started a couple of years ago, and really the biggest thing that got me into it was being an outdoorsman, being a hunter. And obviously I watch a couple of those shows, Forged in Fire, and I would see what those knives could do and things like that. And I'm using knives that are struggling to cut through bones and stuff like that. So I wanted to buy a good knife, and I started looking at the prices of them, and I was like, I don't know about that. So being a metal worker, I'm a welder by trade. So being a metal worker for the past, 15 years or so, I was like, I could probably figure this out. So I went online, I looked up some stuff, I bought a couple books, and literally just went from there. My first knife. I bought a piece of Damascus steel off of Etsy and made something out of that, literally in my driveway.
You went to Damascus for your first knife?
My first one, yeah. I was like, dude, I better make a sick one, you know. I have it somewhere still, and it held up. When I heat treated that thing, I took it outside. I've got a thing of canola oil. I took it outside into my driveway, and I took like a propane tank with the rosebud on it, and I took some cinder blocks. I put it on some cinder blocks, and I sat there and I heated it up for 20 minutes with a propane rosebud in my driveway. Man, I was out there with a magnet, thing of canola oil, and that's it, man. I kept checking it on the magnet. Yep, and it worked. I got it hot. I got it hard. I got it ground down. I got a handle on it, and I used it, man. I used it for a little while. Then I beat it up for a little while, and I still have it. It's somewhere.
That's awesome, dude. That resonates so hard. So I have my first knife laying right here,
Oh, nice,
which I
man.
made out of
I was gonna
rebar.
go look for it because I think it's in my basement somewhere, but I was like, I don't have the time for it right now. I'll find it though.
Yeah,
I will find it.
the handle is still rebar. I just hammered it flat, kind of put an edge, and I've since I put a proper edge, but at the time this edge was not proper.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's so funny. So you went right for Damascus off of Etsy. Did you buy like a proper Damascus or like
No, it wasn't a great one.
budget?
It was a cheapish. It was still decent enough. It was probably around $50 Damascus. But no, it wasn't from any reputable forge or anything like that. I kind of don't even remember the name. It was probably from fucking India.
Yeah.
But it did hold up, so I really can't complain about it. And I did beat that knife up a little bit for a little while, so we'll see. I mean, I want to find it and put a new handle on it, rebevel it, and like do a few things to it since I know a little bit more now, you know. But that's
What
down the
size
line.
is it? What kind of knife is it? Just like a kitchen knife or just like a hunting knife?
No, it was a hunting knife. Yeah. I made
Okay.
like a drop point hunting knife. Um, Nothing crazy with it. It was like I forget it might have been like a tiger wood handle or something, whatever I had laying around.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
go out of my way with nothing, you know. Just basically figured out how to heat treat it and read a few things about grinding them and angles and this and that, and that was it, man. And just went for it. And I
Yeah.
used that
So
for
it was
a while.
it was a carbon blade then. It was carbon steel.
Yep. It was it
Okay.
was carbon. It was 1095, 15, and 20.
Okay. So let me ask you before we get into anything else is I know now you work with mainly stainless. What made that transfer for you? Why did you decide that stainless was the better steel for you to work with?
I don't even want to say it's the better one. It's because there's
Okay.
advantages to both of them really. Um, my biggest thing is going with the stainless was I'm giving these knives to a lot of amateur people who are gonna accidentally leave them in the sink, um,
Yes.
who are gonna do things are gonna be hanging out with their buddies, having some drinks, and showing off the knife. Oh, I got this custom knife, and they cut up some fruit with it. They cut up some citrus and stuff like that, and then they leave it on the counter overnight, and it gets
Yeah.
rusty. And like I saw it happen to one of
Yeah.
my customers' knives, and like that's was kind of the one thing that got me thinking. Like, all right, like if I was selling a lot of knives to professional chefs and stuff like that, and they were requesting like, oh, I really want 1095, I really want the 1084 because the edge retention and things like that, or the toughness or whatever, they would know what they're talking about and what they're dealing with it, so they would
Yeah.
know to be keeping a knife like that dry and clean, and especially if they cut any citrus to go clean it right away, and things like that. So just the negligence of the people I might be selling it to is what made me make that transition really.
Right. All right. Well, I mean, that makes sense. And that's why I'm so eager to get into it. Now I can't get a kiln anytime soon, and I don't want to play with any stainless until I can do it properly.
Yeah.
So I'm still carbon all the way. And honestly, I don't know if I tell myself it just as like a defense for my limitations, but I tell myself that I love how carbon puts an edge on and keeps an
Yeah.
edge on, and you can, I mean, you run it on a honing rod a few times, and that thing will get as sharp as it was the day you sharpened it,
Yep.
after
Yep. Yep.
months. So
I love carbon.
how does it work with stainless? Because I don't know. I don't work with stainless at all. Is an edge easy to put on? Am I putting a stigma on this?
Is an edge easy to put on? No. Some of these stainlesses are freaking tough, man. Like this Magna Cut stuff I'm
Really?
working with, it destroys my belts, man. Like
Really?
it's a very desirable steel right now, and it's a, it is, it's getting out there, but it's tough. It's a belt destroyer.
Yeah.
You're really, your regular consumer is going to really struggle putting an edge on this.
Yeah.
It's going to it takes a lot more than I think these Magna Cup steels are tougher than, I was a 10, you're a 1084 guy, right?
1084. I was 1095, and I realized, why am I messing with it when I could just go down to 1084 to be
I
safe
love
as a
1095.
garage
I really did.
maker? Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 1095 worked, but I see 1084 being just as good. I don't see
yeah,
any difference between the two knives. So I'm
I
keeping the
never had a
1084.
problem with the 1095, so I didn't have a reason to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I really, the one thing, my favorite thing about, I guess, carbons were, like, I love Hamones, man. I love a Hamone line. Like,
Nice.
if you can put a good looking Hamone in there, it's just, I don't know, it makes it nice. Um,
Damn. Okay.
the one kitchen knife I made that I wound up keeping for myself, it's got the Hamone in it, and I love it, man. Like, I love the patina that carbon gets on it eventually. I personally love carbon. I would have a lot more carbon. For
Yeah,
outdoors
dude.
knives, though, I think stainless is also the way to go, just because somebody who
The
might be out
elements.
in the woods for 6 to 10 days at a time, knives getting wet, knives getting sweat on, knives, that salt from the sweat alone is gonna get into the knife, and a high polished knife, a high polished carbon knife is gonna rust out pretty quick if you start sweating on it and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I love a patina. So my wife has a garden, she cooks, and she makes her own tomato sauce, and like, when she went through her tomato cutting season, in order to make all the pasta sauce, the veggie knife that she used that I had made for her had turned black. It was black from tomato acid, and
Yeah,
it looked so good. Dude, I understand that, some people don't like to see their knife change a color,
yeah. Some
but
people,
watching it change to what you're cooking with and how it, adapts to what you're eating, it's almost like like it's alive, it's active, it has a soul. I really enjoyed the whole process, watching that knife change and then change back during it,
yeah,
and it never hurt it. It was always sharp as sin.
yeah, yeah.
So,
No, it's not gonna hurt nothing.
yeah, so it was cool. I love a patina, um, but I do find myself trying to, want to get to a spot where I can also offer the stainless, because, like you said, when you're doing outdoor stuff, or if there's certain scenarios where it's like, listen, this is gonna get wet,
Yeah,
please,
yeah,
please just make a stainless. So I'm curious, and over these next few podcasts, I'm going to continue to prod you a little bit about the stainless, because you have
yeah.
information that I do want to gather from you. So
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
yeah. But all right, so you said you started a few years ago because you looked up prices, you couldn't afford one, how it is.
The main reason just being, like, I mean, if I go back even further, dude, I was into knives as a kid. Like, I loved knives. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can go back even all the way to then, but, like, I was always collecting knives and buying them.
Do you remember your favorite knife you ever got as a kid?
As a kid, it was probably like a cheap, like something cheap and stupid, that wound up getting thrown out eventually. I can't even
Yeah.
remember as a kid, but
Tell me about it. Was it a QVC order? Was it something that your dad gave to you? What was your first knife that
I
really
can't
said,
remember. My
"Oh, I want
first
this"?
knife was definitely something for hunting. My first knife was definitely something for hunting.
You've
And
been
it was
hunting your whole
probably
life,
from, like,
right?
a hardware store, just a regular little folding knife, nothing fancy.
From as long as I've known you, so we've known each other since high school. possibly earlier, but really high school is when we got to know each other. You've been hunting your whole life, right? Your father hunted, and
Since as
that was a thing
early
for
as
you?
I legally could. I was 10 years old when I first started, yeah.
Okay,
I'm pretty
which
sure
is
I went
awesome.
out on my 10th birthday.
And I went hunting when I was 30 something. I actually You were one of the first person that ever went out with me to kind of go scouting a little bit. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that because I'm new to it all. So
Yeah, you'll be I'm still learning stuff, so you'll be learning for the rest of your life. It's cool.
oh, dude.
Great stuff, man.
Just a quick my favorite thing was I spent all summer shooting as accurate as I could. I made sure my shot would hit accurate. Accurate. I was ready to shoot target. And then I realized when I went hunting that that was 1% of what hunting is.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah.
the patience, the
Be being ready for that moment that lasts 10 seconds that might not even come.
yes. And yeah, and it'll only come kind of when you put your guard down too. Like
Yeah.
you'll stand there ready for 2 hours straight. And the second you relax is when something might start. And
Yep.
it's an anomaly to me. I really hunting is one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced in my life. Not because it's fun. It is not fun, but because
It's
of how
tough.
special of an experience it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta be okay with, and I wouldn't even call like going home empty-handed failure, because you most likely either learned something or you saw something cool out in the woods, whatever it may be. So I don't want to say
Yeah.
going home empty-handed is a failure, but you gotta learn to be okay with that. That's gonna happen more times than not. Like you might, like for me, I like to shoot mature deer, so I'm looking for 4-year-old deer. So
Yeah.
there's over the past couple of years, I passed up I don't know how many deer, uh, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and things like that that I easily could have shot, but they just weren't for me. Somebody else, yeah, they want to shoot them, they can shoot them, but they just weren't for me. So basically, I mean, it took me how many hours? I have no idea, but like 2.5 years to get the deer I wanted. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
I didn't kill a single deer for 2.5 years, and
Damn. Yeah.
you got to
Yeah,
be
I get it. I get
gotta
it.
be okay with going home empty-handed, man.
Yeah. And explaining to everybody, like, listen, I didn't get it, but I saw stuff, or a
Oh yeah,
bear showed up, and
yep.
or because I know you're Jersey, I'm Pennsylvania, but in Jersey, it's you have to earn a buck for those first 2 weeks. And the first time I ever went hunting in
First like
Jersey,
first like yeah,
that
almost a
buck
month.
showed up first day, and I wasn't allowed to shoot it because I haven't earned a buck. And I remember that experience of like, here's this prime 6 point buck that I can't shoot, and
Just look at. That's usually how it
why?
goes.
Yeah, yeah, and you pull out your camera, and that was honestly when I learned that although deer obviously do notice you, and I've been in a few scenarios where like I fucking breathed too hard and they noticed me. But like in that scenario, I was pulling out my camera, taking pictures of this buck, and he had no idea I was there. And you
Yeah,
realize that you don't need to play so hard of that. Don't, no scented shirt when you go, you find your line. Um,
yeah.
but
Playing the wind
it's
is the
all
best
learning.
best bet.
Yeah, which I'm no good at. I go into my spot and I hope for the best.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'll learn. But either way, no, I love hunting. I appreciate you being able to teach me and be part of it. And this year, you got one hell of a buck. So if anyone can take a moment, go onto Cutter Fabrications, Instagram, go look for the buck he shot. I'm sure you can find it somewhere past his knives. Uh, Beautiful. I got myself a nice 8 pointer this
yeah.
year.
You shot a
Did
nice one
not
this year
touch
too.
what you got. So
Yeah, but still, for that's what your is that your second or your third buck by now?
my second buck, yeah. I mean,
That's
this is my
awesome,
fourth
man.
year hunting, my second
Yeah,
buck. So
yeah. But that's
it's a
awesome. Yeah,
lot. Yeah. I'm actually so yesterday I actually boiled the head. I have it all cleaned up. It's just got the meat left, in the sockets and all that shit.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I boiled it up yesterday, and then I realized I had to take Liam to his basketball game. So right now I have a soggy skull on my porch that I got to go finish cleaning up to get it hung up.
Yeah,
Poor
yeah, that
Dana.
should be getting marked
She
back
just
from the
has this
taxidermist pretty soon, I hope.
nice. No,
Yeah,
oh, nice. Did you
yeah.
get the full like mount or
No,
just
no,
the head?
I just did the skull. I
Okay.
just let him do it because he's got the Beatles and all that stuff. So
Okay, nice.
yeah,
Yeah. I wish I could. I'm not working right now, so I don't have any income to put into this. I'm stuck scraping this shit off myself.
yeah,
But dude, yeah, I send me a picture of it as soon as it gets here because that skull is something else. So
yeah, definitely will. I should.
congratulations.
I'll
That was one hell
contact
of
him
one.
next week maybe and see where he's at. 'Cause it's been a couple
Nice.
months by now.
Yeah.
He should
I
be.
ordered a beer glass in November of it was Tenacious D where it's Jack Black with his full fucking thing on and then Kyle Glass in the back naked. And I'm so excited for this glass. And I messaged him. I ordered it in November and I messaged him this month. And I'm like, where is it? He's like, it'll be here in March. I'm like, damn, like a 4-month turnaround for this glass, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah,
One podcast that we're doing this, I'll have that glass drinking it and
hell yeah.
you'll know. So, but no, that's good, man. All right, so we're new to this. We're
Yeah.
both amateurs. I now not amateurs in terms of our knives are amateur. We have some gorgeous knives. Go check it out. But we are amateur in terms of this is not our full-time job. This is something we do as a hobby and an obsession. What was the hardest thing for you to get into making your first knife? What was the holdback and what was the biggest hurdle that you got through in order to get that first knife that you had?
There wasn't really for the first one. There wasn't really any hurdles. I
Hmm.
basically just made the decision. I was like, I'm going to try it. I pretty much had everything I needed to do it already, except for a piece of steel. So
Okay.
that's why I bought the piece of Damascus from. Because I had all the metal tools. I had a belt sander. I had a cheap little 1x32 belt sander. Nothing crazy, but yeah, man. That's when I grabbed my first knife
And
on it.
you just got in it. There wasn't even a question then. You just got
No,
into it. You knew it
yeah,
was happening. You were just making a knife.
yeah. There wasn't any like second guessing about it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. I bought a piece of steel and went for it.
Okay. And then it hardened and you got an edge on it and it cut a piece of rope and you were like, that's it. I'm a fucking
Yeah,
knife maker now, right?
pretty much. Well, to be honest, I don't think I made a knife for a long time after that.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
it was a lot like I was content because that's all I wanted with it. I was like, all right, eventually, like I'll probably make some kitchen knives too and stuff like that. But that's down the road. I got what I wanted for now. And then
Yeah.
when some people saw it, some people started to get interested in it, and that's when I was kind of like, once some people saw it, and they're like, "Oh, it's pretty cool. Like, maybe you could do that." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe I could do that." So that's when I was like, "All right, cool. Let me look into this." And I looked into it a little bit, read a little bit more, and then I built a forge and built a 2x72 belt sander, and just fucking went. That's when I went for it. I was just like, "All right, fuck it. I'm gonna build as much of this shit as I can." Bought a brand new anvil from NC Tool, and just went for it.
Yeah.
Went all in
Well,
from
okay.
there.
So now I still, so when you started knife making before I did, and I reached out to you about it, and you offered me your I beam. You had a steel I beam that you had used as an anvil prior to your actual NC anvil, correct?
No, I never used that as an anvil. I was going to,
Oh,
but
okay,
I wound up buying the NC Tool one.
okay.
I just had
So,
that laying around, and I was gonna use it, but I wound
okay,
up
so
buying
I still have it, and I'm more than happy to give it back to you. I take good care of that because I use it in all my stuff. Sometimes um, when I start peening one of my cleavers, and I'm hammering it and I stamp it and all this stuff, and it kind of gets a little warped because I was pounding on it. I use that to just slam down and flatten everything out.
it. Oh,
And every
nice.
time I do it, I say to myself, I'm like, I should get this back to Cutter because I'm sure he could use this. Um, so
Ah,
you let me know. I have it waiting for you. I'm using it right now only because there's no need for it to just sit in a corner.
no,
When you're ready for it,
keep
I
it. Keep it.
appreciated it greatly because so my first knife, I used a log as my anvil. I used grill coal as my coal, and I used my wife's um hair fucking what is it? The hair dryer,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I use that to feed the fire in order to get it hot enough to turn my steel hot. So, like I said, my first knife was just some rebar, and it was done out of coal, and I hammered it on a log that was flaming up as I was hammering it and everything.
Yeah,
Um,
makes sense.
yeah. So when you gave me that I-beam, it kind of changed the game for me a little bit. I didn't know at the time that I had to kind of strap it down in order to stop the bounce, you know.
Yeah.
So I just left it on the ground and I was hammering on it. And at a certain point, I realized what was going on. And then I asked you, and you said, order an anvil from NC. And I did get a proper anvil, and I anchored it down and all that stuff. But uh, I still have this I-beam that I'm using. So I appreciate it, and let me know when you're ready for it back, because it is yours and I'm waiting to give it back to you so you can use it.
I should never need it, man. You can keep it. If I need one, I'll steal another one.
I will happily put it to use, because like I said, whenever I make, I don't know if you checked on my Instagram recently, that cleaver with the little bores going through, I fuck around with it. I beat it up and it just gets a little warped, and just something about just laying it on my anvil and slamming that I-beam on it that just flattens it straight. Like you don't have to worry about it getting straight because you just slammed it in.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's what other knife makers do, but damn it, a good stomp will do it any day.
it works, right?
For sure. All right, so how do you do your logo? I mean, I know your knives have your maker's mark.
Yep.
I do mine with a hot stamp. Do you also?
Yeah. So I just heat it up, and I've been doing it that way. Um, I'd like to. I don't get a good solid hit on mine all the time, so I got to
Mhm.
work on it a little bit, or maybe even build a jig, just so I can get a straighter hit on it.
The jig won't work.
No.
And not in my opinion, dude. I've learned sometimes you just got to hit it, and it is what it is. But so when you hit it, is there any time that you're tempted to just line it up and hit it a second time?
Yeah. All the time.
Does it ever work for you? Because it's worked for me. I've done
It's
it where I
worked,
lined
yeah.
it up and re-hit it, and it worked.
Yeah, I've done it a couple times and it works. I mean,
Yeah.
you're only going to get away with that a certain amount of times. I feel like, I don't do it every time,
Yes.
so it's like there are certain times where it's bad enough that I'm like, all right, I can't make it worse if I try to hit it again, so I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like it already looks awkward. Let's see how it looks. And sometimes you hammer it hard enough and it'll kind of remove the prior image and put a new stamp in it. And
Mm.
sometimes it'll line up close enough. Sometimes it's just look at the file, but it looks better than not having the maker's mark on it. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yep.
Um,
I'd rather
is
have
there a
of it,
reason why you chose that over the electric maker's mark? Like to etch it in electrically?
I'm going to get one of those
Price, I would
eventually.
assume.
Um,
Yeah.
I do want to eventually get one of those. The main reason I want to get one of those is because I not only want to mark my mark into it, but I want to mark what the steel is.
Yeah.
So because
Okay.
I'm going back and forth from so many different steels. So like one side I want it to be like my logo, and then on the opposite side it'll say whether it's Nitro V, whether it's Magna Cut, whether it's 1095,
Damn. Okay.
and I'd also like to do somewhere where it doesn't have to be on the knife, but I would like to do like a made in USA kind of deal, whether it's on the packaging or whatever. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that yet, but I want to start incorporating that into it. So I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
going to do like Nitro V made in USA, Magna Cut made in USA, or what. But eventually, I'm going to get one of those etching machines, and I might even do like USA down the spine or something like that. I don't know.
Mhm.
There's so
Okay.
many different
Yeah.
options once you have that machine. You could do.
Yeah. Which is very important. I mean, a lot of these knives, the Damascus, all these things are not made in America. Let's be
No,
very clear.
no,
These are not American made knives. That to find something locally made. And so when I make my knife, I use my steel from New Jersey Steel Baron that I know you
yeah,
also do.
yeah. I
You're the
love
one
that.
who told me about them. Um, a phenomenal facility right in New Jersey who has
Yeah, very
amazing
close.
steel. Oh my God, fantastic. Now, I use all my handle steel from Wood Dynamics in Pennsylvania. I prefer all of their stuff. Their stabilized wood is gorgeous.
Yeah,
Um,
that's something
I've
I gotta get
learned
back
now,
into. Like I have the vacuum chamber and everything, but I just haven't done it in a while.
dude, don't waste your time, man. I'm telling you, fucking just find someone who's got a good stabilized wood and buy it from them. Now,
Yeah,
I'm
but
saying that out of,
I get
I don't know what it takes. It sounds like it takes a lot to stabilize some wood, so
no, it
I
doesn't.
don't know.
I've done it already, so it doesn't, and I have everything to do it, so
Okay,
I would not do it.
all right.
But I get a lot of free wood
Mm,
that I can turn into knife handles. So I work where I work full time. I work technically for a cabinetry company. I'm a welder at a cabinetry company. They throw
yeah,
out little chunks of wood all the time. So
right. Well, yeah, then
who gets them?
that's given.
Me. But basically, that would be the
Free
only
is for
reason
me.
why I wouldn't buy somebody else's wood stabilized wood is because it would just be
Yeah,
easy enough for me to do it. I can run like
yeah,
I already got the vacuum chamber, like I said, so I can run the vacuum chamber all day while I'm at work, and then
yeah.
come home, turn it off, let it soak in there for another full day, and then you pull it out, and then you just heat it up to 350 degrees, and that's it. It's stabilized wood.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I so I don't know much about it. I buy it from this guy from Wood Dynamics. I love all of his stuff. His colors are wild. His wood's wild. One thing I've learned, and I've had two people reach out to me is, so I work out of my garage. I'm a
Yeah,
garage hobbyist. I keep all my wood in the garage, which
yeah.
stays very moistured.
Mm.
I recently put a handle on a knife, sent it out immediately, and I got a contact that the wood shrunk a little bit, and the steel is now kind of protruding and uncomfortable. Um, so it was one of these things where the wood
Was that
breathed a little
stabilized
bit.
wood that you
It
used?
was stabilized wood. It was
That's good.
stabilized, but my garage is very much exposed to the outer elements. It was very bloated. And when I
Yeah,
put
but
it on, not that it did it a lot, but
if it's
it was
stabilized
enough to where,
wood, it should be the epoxy penetrates the whole thing. So there
yeah,
shouldn't be any way moisture can get in it.
yeah, dude. I don't know. I I've made a lot of knives now, dozens, and I've had a few of them. Let's say maybe 5% of them where I have noticed, and some of them I've sold out, and someone said to me, "Hey, it feels uncomfortable." The other ones is I keep in inventory. Um, like, so a lot of them, there's no issues. But I had a few of them where in inventory I would pick up one day and I would feel the heel of it, and I'm like, there's a difference. So I don't want to say that it's the wood because not all of the wood that I get does it, but I've noticed some woods do it, and it's something I need to now address to where before I send a knife out to a client, I need to hold on to it to 4 or 5 days in my house, acclimated to proper, temperature, because I don't know
That's
what it is.
interesting.
Now, yeah, now I know that, if you do something, you do hidden tangs and stuff like that where you're not going to feel that. I heard something about like museum fits or whatever. I don't know what that is where if it's over. There's other options, but when you're doing a flush tang, that is something you have to be aware of that I wasn't aware of. And
I've never
now
had
I'm
that
looking into it.
happen.
No? Oh my goodness.
No,
Okay. All right.
no.
I definitely have. And it's a problem. Now it's easy to fix. I get the knife, I just grind the
Yeah,
steel back down to the
easy
new
fix,
wood at
but
its
yeah,
proper
that's
thing.
interesting.
Easy.
Have those all been with stabilized woods that's happened with?
Has all been with stabilized woods. Now I've had one happen with unstabilized wood that I had ordered really cheap. Um, but some of it has been stabilized. But like I said, maybe 5% of
The
my knives that I make with stabilized wood, it'll happen. And
my
I don't know
because
if it's something I'm doing,
no,
if
it's
it's
got to be
because I'm
something with the
over
stabilizing
sanding.
process because with the
Okay.
stabilizing process, you have to get the wood extremely, extremely, extremely dry to begin with. So if
Right.
you didn't get that wood as dry as it's supposed to be, that's
Oh, so
probably
then leaving it in a moist garage for a week would
with
kind of counteract
once
that,
it's
though, right?
stabilized. You got to think. Okay, so
Okay,
they're
hit me.
they're you got this piece of wood, right? It's going to go into liquid epoxy bath in a
Yes.
vacuum chamber for about 24 hours. And
Yeah.
then if they're doing it right, and then the vacuum will shut off and it's gonna sit in there and soak for another 24 hours. You're gonna pull that out and it's gonna go into an oven at 350 degrees. You're gonna cook it all the way through. Once you cook it all the way through, that's gonna harden that epoxy.
Yeah.
At that point, you should have no way for water to penetrate that.
Hmm.
There should be no way water is going to be able to penetrate through that epoxy. So
Okay.
that's why my assumption would be if you're getting shrinkage, there's water left in there to begin with that's trying to escape. That's my only guess.
Okay.
Because with the
Okay.
way that the way that stabilizing is done, if it's done right, there shouldn't be any way for water to get in there afterwards.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing then. Actually, maybe we could do a whole episode on I come up to you. Let's stabilize some wood. Teach me how. I'd love to see this whole process because I don't know it. And at the end of the day, I'll buy some wood and
Well, it's days
let's go
long.
through it.
It's days long
Yeah,
process.
That's cool. We'll
You're just
fucking
you're
listen.
throwing a block of wood in a chamber and you walk away and you go do other things for 24 hours. You come back, turn it
Mhm.
off, and that's it. And you let it sit there for 24 hours. And then, like I said, I put it in my little uh, toaster oven, 350 degrees.
So
Hardens
toaster
right
oven,
up.
do you mean literally a toaster? Like
No,
you
toaster
know,
oven.
one of yeah, like the cheap ass Walmart toaster ovens, right? Like you're not using a temper system, you're using a toaster oven, right?
No, I'm using a toaster oven. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I got my toaster oven for $5 at a garage sale.
Nice.
So that's
Yeah.
what I'm just saying. Is like you can get them as cheap as as you
Yeah.
want, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You don't need anything special. Mine was free. You have to
Yeah, no,
sell a
that's
toaster
awesome.
oven. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
I've done a lot of stabilized woods in that thing.
That's
And
awesome. Yeah, all right. So I'm interested then. I work a lot with the stabilized wood. I prefer the stabilized wood.
yeah.
I buy it from this guy, and I blame it on the fact that literally I work out of my garage, and sometimes it gets real wet in there. But I
I
would
mean,
love to test it out with some of yours just to see what's going on. Because
you
when I
know
use
what we could
G10 or
do?
if I use the acrylic or the resin, I don't get the shrinkage. So I'm
Yeah.
curious.
I wonder what one thing we could do is we can get like a moisture testing. You see, but we can see how much they cost. I can't imagine them costing too much, but like a wood moisture testing system, and we can get a piece of stabilized wood and we can test it when we get it, and then we can leave it in your garage for a month and test it, see if it's getting moisture.
God damn, I love science. Let's do it.
We'll figure it.
All
We'll
right.
figure it out because if it's getting
Yeah.
moisture, then maybe no offense to your guy or anything, but it's just because
Yeah. No, no, definitely.
he's trying to go too fast. Maybe he's
Yeah.
only running a vacuum for 10 hours and then soaking it for another 10 hours. Like
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Which is important to know because listen, as a knife maker, m- my knives have to be something I can back up. And
yeah,
if my
absolutely,
handles keep on
absolutely.
shrinking, I need to handle it. Now, again, only 5% of this. I've only had 2 complaints on it. I've noticed
Yeah,
it. But when I
still,
leave it in my house for a while,
still,
1 out of 10 knives will have that shrinkage. And it's like, is it the wood? Is it what happened? Is it the kind of wood? Because some of them are burley, some of them are maple, but I don't know. That's something we could find out at another time. All I'm saying is it's interesting as a new knife maker to work with all this stuff to where you haven't even thought about. It's like I just need handle material. And suddenly you're getting handle material and now you need to think about the moisture content, how stabilized it is. Do you need to let it breathe for a week before you send it out and all this stuff? Like as a knife maker, how do you make a knife? The handle content is one of the last things you think about, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Now,
And
you
it makes the whole knife. I mean, a good edge really makes the whole knife, but a comfortable knife in your hand, man. I mean, if it's not comfortable in your hand, it's a fucking useless tool.
Now, listen, I'm going to go right to the next spot, making our first knife. I truly agree with that 100%. The handle is the most important part of the knife. You need a sharp knife, but really at the end of the day, we know you can put it on an edge on any piece of steel. Anything can get an edge. It is that handle that really kind of makes a knife. So right now, the most recent knives that you've posted and everything are Hidden Tang. And I would love to ask you, what is your favorite kind of handle? What is your favorite kind of material? And how do you like to make it?
That's a kind of a loaded question, I feel like, because it depends, man. Like,
Yeah.
really depends on the style of the knife, depends on the material, the material, the handle, and all that stuff too. I mean, I like
You're making a knife for yourself. This is for you.
this is for me.
What are you doing?
It depends. That's another thing. It really depends. I
Do you
mean,
like liners? G10 liner? Are you doing that?
not really. I got away from the liners a little bit. I mess with them a little bit. I do like them, but I don't love them. Um, for like a kitchen knife, if I were making myself a kitchen knife, it would probably be, like the Hidden Tang style. I really like this style that I've been kind of posting a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's sharp.
I made that because that's what I like. That's the style
Yeah.
I went with, and this would probably be the style I would get for my kitchen knife.
Hmm.
For a hunting knife for myself, I really, really like, and I'm gonna be making one for myself soon. Uh, Another one. I
Yeah.
really like the linen micartas, the canvas micartas. I really like that vintage style because it gives it that vintage style look. You can finish micarta however you want. Like you can leave it a little bit rougher so it looks,
Yeah.
looks like it's almost been used, but it's still smooth as hell. But or you can go and polish it up and make it look, real shiny and nice. That's what I like about the
Yeah.
micarta. You can do whatever you want with it,
Yeah.
and it looks
I
cool.
actually I'm working on a handle right now that has some burlap micarta, and the
Yeah.
burlap just that looks so unreal. I mean, it literally looks like burlap laid across it.
Yeah,
And I
it's
know
cool.
that's what it is. So I mean, micarta's fantastic and it's a synthetic, so it doesn't shrink much.
Yeah, it's a great stuff,
Yeah.
and it grips well too. Like the G10 stuff too. I got a couple of knives I'm working on that I texture the G10 a little bit. I think I got one right here.
Now, textured in terms of you kind of put that like those rough grooves in order to show the layers and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just
Yes,
texturing
yeah,
it a
yeah,
little bit.
exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I do like that too. I mean, this isn't finished. It's still got a nice shine to it, but I got to make that pop a little bit. I don't think I have any water around here to make it pop, but
Spit on it.
yeah, no, it's actually
That's the shit.
thinking of a little bit of water right here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like these. I like the feel of that. The G10 is, like the texture. It's got a nice grip to it,
Yeah.
and it's
I
cool stuff
actually
to work with.
Yeah. So I just made my first G10 knife ever. If you check, I made an 8.5 inch chef's knife with a red and black G10 handle on my Instagram. And that was my first ever G10 full handle. I use G10 as a liner. I like liners for color pop. Um, Fader Knives is one of my favorite knife makers. Um, I love how he does his handles where there's so much color involved, and color is something that I like to incorporate. That's why I like my handle maker so much. Is
Yeah,
his wood is so colorful
yeah,
that I can bring so many colors into a knife that I can't help myself. I have to fucking put these colors in. Um, but so I love the colors, and G10 I've just realized can bring a lot of colors in without any wood system. So G10's nice. I don't like ordering from Amazon though. I want to find a local person who can handle the G10. Do you know any local G10 people for the New Jersey area?
Local, I don't know anyone. I use Texas Knife Maker.
Okay,
Or
which is nice.
is it no USA Knife Maker I use, and
Okay,
I forget the other one. It might be Texas Knife Supply or something like that.
right.
USA Knife Maker is a good one that I get a lot of shit from. Jance Supply I use a little bit, but not too much. I forget. I don't think
Jance.
they're American.
Jance is good. I like knife kits. I get all my Kydex and my rivets, and even so I just got leather in order to do. I'm working on a folder right now. We'll get onto this into a later episode. I'm working on a folder. I know you're working on a folder. But I have a folder, and my leather that I ordered was off of Jance. Knife kits. Knife kits seems to have just a little bit of everything you need. So I've been honestly going to that. Even Combat Abrasives does not have Rogue epoxy right now, which is what I use as my epoxy system.
Mm-hmm.
Jance had it, so I keep on finding myself going back to the Jance. I keep on saying Jance. Knife kits.
Yeah.
Knife Kits has the shit that nothing else has. So Knife Kits had the Rogues. Knife Kits had the rivets. Knife Kits had everything that I needed. And
yeah. I've been using G-Flex. I like the G-Flex,
which I ordered and I have it. I just don't like that it's a 24-hour full set. You know, you have to let it sit for a day. And I'm so
impatient. It's 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's only 8.
I know. 8 hours is pretty much a day. Because if you start at 10 in the morning, within 8 hours,
you gotta set
it's dinner time.
Up.
You ain't going back out.
Yourself up so you do your glue ups at the end of the day. So you get there in the morning and they're good to go, man.
No, within 8 hours, I'm drunk. I ain't fucking working on shit, man.
Nah, man.
But I have the G-Flex, and okay. Because you recommended it, and I trust your recommendations. Whenever I'm gluing up something real, I will always use the G-Flex.
If you do any hidden tang, I will recommend definitely trying to use the G-Flex.
Yes.
This is one of the first hidden tang knives I ever made, and I still beat the shit out of it, and I got to redo it. And that's why it's sitting here, because I got to resharpen it and do a few things to it. I got a little.
Oh, that's nice though. Is that a little unrefined fucking spine on there? Yeah, dude. Okay, all right. Listen, when I started making knives, my understanding was you had to hand sand that shit up to 500 grit forever. I am no longer hand sanding anything. They can eat my shit if they think I'm going to hand sand knives for no reason. I am all about the belt finish now. I see that unrefined edge. Dude, how do you feel about hand sanding? Hold on. Wait. No. Hand sanding sucks. Okay, we're making a whole banner. Here we go. Hand sanding sucks. What are you doing about this? Let's talk about it.
What am I doing to combat hand sanding? I'm not doing it, dude. No. What I went to, man, is I went to a die grinder, an angle die grinder, and I used surface prep pads on it. And I'm the same way, man. Like I hate hand sanding. I want to eliminate it as much as possible, but I also want to keep like the accuracy of everything and the smoothness of everything. And I don't want to use a machine that I'm going to go too hard in one spot and I'm going to wind up making the knife fucking wavy or something like that. So
yeah,
I basically just went with, like I said, the angle die grinder with surface prep pads, and I go from there, take it up to the highest grit I can. And another finish I've been working on, which I might have over there, is I go from the surface prep pad and I sandblast it. And it looks pretty nice. I can't complain about it. I wasn't sure I was going to like it. I thought maybe it was going to put a little bit too deep marks in it, but it didn't. It looks good. I thought I was going to have to
sandblast. Honestly, it did a great job of removing any grind marks and just putting this beautiful fucking, not satin. What would that be? It was like a matte finish almost.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I would call them more of a mattish
Fucking
finish.
gorgeous. Yeah. Do you have any that you can kind of hold up to the camera?
I might have one
Honestly,
right
just for
here.
me more than anything, because I really do like that. And I just met someone. As I said, I'm trying to do some folders. I have a folder here that I'm working on. So this is my prototype folder. It's a 2-point joint slip. I'm trying to get this set up a little smaller. I know this is a bit big. I'm trying to set this up a bit smaller. That way. Oh, Jesus. There we go. That way I can, give this to where people could put it in their pockets. This is a bit large. But as I was setting this up, I'm trying to talk to someone to cut the steel for me. So this is Kevin Gills. Let me shout him out for a second here. Honestly, I know this is episode 1. We don't have any listeners, but there is no reason for me not to shout him out.
Well, we'll keep shouting him out.
Yeah, that's honestly what it comes down to, because at the end of the day, I'm going to keep on pushing it to you too. This guy can cut steel with his plasma cutter locally, and that's my biggest thing. I don't need the best shit. I want it local above all.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so
I would probably do it myself at my job if I were, because I have a CNC plasma there.
Yes, which if you have the opportunity, sure.
I would love to support your friend and everything, but I could do it.
Dude, no, you got it. You got it. I get it. That's listen. That's the whole point, is to be as self-supportive as possible in these things where we're taking care of all the expenses that we can't afford in order to offer the best price knife. My thing that you said, and I think this should be the whole thing of how to make a knife, is there are the people who are making art, and it is $4,000 for a knife. But Steve, I think me and you can agree, we want people to use the shit out of our knives.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell anybody art. I want someone to sell someone that's.
You are. I mean, I am too. Like, I want my knife to look as good as it performs. That's what I want.
Everything we're doing is with the intention to make it great. I mean, I don't make a knife without trying to put a handle on it that'll make it special.
Yeah.
I don't offer someone a custom knife without trying to offer what vibes with them, because at the end of the day, each knife is used for a specific purpose. It's supposed to have a specific job, and they need to have some sort of resignation or some vibe with what's happening. So when I made my wife her bread knife, it had to have a color, a shape, and a size that vibed with what she's trying to do with it. And I think as long as we as knife makers can understand that a knife is more than just a tool, but something that someone's using every day of their life, we can offer something special. So there are the people who want a piece of art. They want to spend extra money to make it this thing. But at the end of the day, me and you, I mean, I did this. I remember I went to, so my origin, well, I'm going to click our origins. My origin is I went to a Renaissance fair, and from afar, I heard someone slamming steel with a hammer. And the sound of it alone was unreal. I love the sound of him hammering steel. And when we got there, it was a coal forge that was run by some fucking wind thing. And it was old school because it's Renaissance fair. And it made me promise myself that when I made my first knife, that it would be in that form.
Yeah.
So there was this connection to what I wanted and how to get it. And for the people who will never go through that, I want to offer that to them in the best way possible, which is what kind of steel, what kind of shape, what kind of handle, how do you want it to be? How thin is it? What are you cutting? Are you cutting mainly vegetables? Are you cutting mainly steak? Right? Like, I mean, if you're cutting vegetables, you want it to be a broader bodied knife to do potatoes.
Yeah.
If you want it to be a steak and in more, like boning, you're making great fucking boning knives. You need it to be a little leaner and longer. So there's so many things that come into this in order to what you're trying to do. And as knife makers, I think it's real for us to fucking
The other
acknowledge that
thing
all.
too is like there's so many like you can have a boning knife, but you can have so many different styles of a boning knife, and I feel like that's another thing that people who aren't knife makers don't understand. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's Western boning knives, there's Asian boning knives and all that kind of stuff. They're all a little bit different, and like some of them have curves to them, some of them are straight, some of them are extremely thin, some of them the Western style boning knives are a little bit thicker, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even like, so the guy actually, so his Instagram is Kevin Gills, or Gil Kev on Instagram. And he has a plasma cutter that cuts all this stuff. And I was talking to him and everything. And, at the end of the day, he wanted a knife from me, and he asked for a carver knife, like a meat carving knife.
Yeah.
And the knife he showed me was barely half an inch thick. Apparently, this thing has been absolutely used to hell. And it was cut so thin, I didn't even know how to design this knife, because the knife he was showing me was just a shell of a knife that used to exist.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was kind of horrified, because I was like, I don't even know how to make this. But at the same time, I was so honored that they want to replace this heirloom with something that was mine.
Yeah.
So I find this way where now I'm truly, I'm invested. It's not just I'm making him a knife, but it's like, you've carved many holidays with this knife, and I need to match up to this.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, a client that asked me, but this is someone who's helping me out, and now I'm helping him out. And it's dude, I know we're just amateurs to all this, but it's these moments like this to where it's like, I'm going to offer the best of my ability to you,
Yeah.
because this
Absolutely.
is what I do. I love, you had posted a few months ago, you had posted a knife, and it was a highly polished knife. I don't know how you did it. I don't know if you used a buffer to polish this knife like a mirror,
Yeah.
but you had offered it to this guy, and it had this like toxic green and black handle. It looked so great. And I don't know if you actually did a cutting board that tied in with it. Was there a cutting board tied in with that green?
Yeah.
I'm sure you know what knife I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a cutting knife involved. Cutting
There's
board also, right?
Yeah, there was a cutting board that I hand
Okay.
burned in there too. Yeah.
That that connection, the two of them looked so well together. Like they were meant to be together, and it was clear they were meant to be together. And when he posted them, they were together. And it was just this thing where it's like, clearly these are two things that are one. Um, and again, we're amateur knife makers, but like, it's that stuff right there. When I saw you post that stuff, and when I saw him repost it of your work, it was clear that that was a successful, expression of what you were doing. And
Yeah.
I
It's
love it.
always
I
good.
know,
Like, dude, it's great hearing back too. And like some of those first knives I've sold a long time ago, like years ago. Because years ago, I would make a knife for myself. I'd post pictures of it. This is how I started selling shit. I made a knife for myself, post a picture of it, and somebody's like, I want that. And I'm like, okay, I can make another one. It's like,
yeah.
whatever. So that's how I started selling them. And I'll also contact those people a couple times. I'm like, hey man, like, how's that holding up? Is the handle still together? Like,
Yeah.
all good? And they're like, yeah, man, we love it. We use it all the time. I'm like, wow, I didn't know the fuck I was doing back then.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's terrible, because some of our best knives were actually one of our earlier knives, and it's like, that's the one that's still holding up. Okay, all right.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's always good to hear.
Yeah.
Always good to hear back
For
from those
sure.
people.
For sure. It's funny, because that's really how it goes. I mean, we do this for ourselves. I mean, we both did this for ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's resonated out. And every time I post a knife, you know, for some percentage, I get a message of like, I'll buy that. The same way you're saying, it was like,
Yeah.
hey, I would like that. And now you have to justify, you have to work it through and everything. But at the end of the day, I made knives for me more than
Yeah.
anything else. And
Yeah.
you know,
And
yeah,
that's what I'm gonna
same.
get back into this year, man. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a custom this year. If somebody's like, "Hey, man, like, I want this knife like this, and like this." I don't think I'm gonna do it this year. I think this year I'm gonna build what I want. I'm gonna
Yeah.
post it, and if you say, "Hey, I
Yeah.
want it," you can buy it, and
Yeah.
that's how it's gonna go. I'm gonna make what I wanna make this year, and, like, because sometimes, it's just like it adds a little bit, of tension and frustration when somebody tells you what they want and you're not getting it perfect in your eyes, you know what I mean? Like, they still might like it. It might not be exactly the way it was described. Like, you might have a little defect here, a little defect there, but, like, sometimes those knives are just the harder ones to make because me personally, like, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I don't wanna say everything has to be perfect, but, like, I am a little bit. So it's, like, harder for me to, like, do customs when I'm not 100% like a knife maker, really. I am a knife maker, but, like, I'm not a professional knife maker. I'm a welder,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Dude, 100%. And I understand completely. So I play Magic the Gathering and I alter Magic the Gathering cards. I'll paint them into other things. And every
Yeah,
once
I
in a
think I've
while,
seen
people
your
ask
stuff.
me, is like, yeah, where people ask me is like, I want this card to look like this. And I'll tell them all the time is like, listen, I'm gonna do it, but don't tell me how you want it. I'm gonna do it on my terms. And when I'm done, if you like it, you can buy it. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it, but I'm going to do it how I want to do it. Please,
Yeah,
please, please don't tell me how you want it. Because if this is this thing, I'm going to do it my way. And if you don't
yeah.
want it, that's fine. You know, even in my knife making, dude, I can go into every message of the past 10 knives I've sold. And every time they ask me immediately upon telling me what they want, how do I send you money? And I tell them,
Don't.
no,
Yeah.
not until
I
I'm
do too.
done. If you like it, send me the money, the knife. But
Yeah,
I never want to ask for money if it's not what you want, you know?
exactly, yep. I do the same thing.
And that's exactly what you're saying, right? I mean, it was like this year is like you're gonna make what you want, and if they want it, for sure. But at the end of the day, it has to be what you made.
Yeah,
This is yours,
yeah,
it's a cutter's fabrication. This is what it is, and it is what it is, which is important, because listen, I've seen a lot of your knives now. I mean, I've been following you for years since I started making knives myself, and you stayed true to your design. You stayed true to what you're doing. Your goal, in my understanding, is literally as sharp as you can make it. The goal is a sharp knife. You are always offering the sharpest knife you can offer.
I
You
I
know?
want sharp but tough because, like I said,
Yeah.
the thing that got me into it is, like, I wanna be able to cut up a rib cage. I wanna be able to shoot a duck and cut the
Yeah.
legs off and not have
Yeah.
to worry about, like, say I missed the joint. I wanna be able to know my knife's going through the leg, cutting through that bone, and, I wanna be able to cut the necks off of the ducks and be able to go through that spine and not be chipping knives and stuff like that. That's all I care
Yeah.
about, you know what I mean?
So
Like, but yeah, sharpness too.
yes, but sharpness, yeah, because I remember you posted a video of you cutting a piece of paper floating in the air.
Yeah.
And my goal was to cut a piece of paper floating in the air because you did it. And I did. I ended up doing it. And I remember that moment where I did it. And I was like, oh shit, next level. I did it. I can now do that. Because like and I guess it's with all knife makers. You set a level. It's the silly shit: cutting paper towel, cutting, a piece of paper towel roll that's not glued down, or whatever it is. Or we're all trying to show how sharp our shit is, and at the end
In
of the
cool
day,
ways.
in cool ways. Neil Kamimura is my go-to of like. I love how he works. He's a
Yeah.
very go-to. But at the end of the day, all knives are sharp. All knives We'll skin an arm, like skin the hair, and all knives will do it. Every knife will do this shit. We get caught up in the Instagram version of what a knife is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Where at the end of the day, we just need a sharp knife that'll do what it does, and they're all going to be sharp. They're all going to cut paper. They're all going to do this stuff. They'll all do this. But at the end of the day, so when I shot my buck, I had to get his head off in order to get it ready, and I took a machete that I had bought off of the internets, and I swung my machete to lop the head off. I had to break through a spine. I had to break through the neck in order to get it. When I was done whipping this machete in, the machete was folded sideways like a bow. It did not handle the spine at all. I had no absolute cut whatsoever. And I ended up taking one of my own knives that I made as a kitchen knife that failed only because I made it too thick. The blade was fine. It's just I never grinded it right. I didn't like it. The handle cracked, whatever the fuck. And that thing lopped that head right off. So it was so funny to see. And I'm sure you've run into this too, where you buy a knife that's cheap but looks nice. And at the end of the day, when you use it, when you need it to the most, there's no hardness. So I have my own machete. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Dude, I can't wait to bring this through the next head. I am not selling this. This is mine. This is my machete. I want to chop a head off. Episode 1, chopping heads off with machetes. That's not going to fuck up an algorithm. But like that's the shit that I think about is like when I went to go cut that head off, I was like, this machete is not hard enough to do this. I need to go get my own material in order to do this shit, I bought this professionally and it didn't do it. So that's when I think about me and you and shit like this, where it's like we're just knife makers in a hobby scenario, but our shit will be better than anything that comes through. And I think any other amateur knife makers need to understand that you don't have to have a name in order to make a good knife. No. We are all here making phenomenal knives.
There's a lot of them, man.
Prices.
I bet you one day we could probably even make this a whole episode. We can go through, who do you follow? Who gives you inspiration versus who gives me inspiration off of Instagram and things like that.
Yeah.
Because I bet you it's completely different. I have some really cool knife makers that I follow, and like there's a couple of them. There's one of them actually who just did exactly what we're trying to do, and he lives in West Milford. So
oh yeah, maybe tell me about it. What's happening
here one day? But he used to be a cop. He makes knives, I guess, and wanted to do it full time. And he quit being a cop and started doing that. So I mean, that to me is a pretty damn good sign because he left a really fucking good job to make knives full time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
I mean,
what's funny though is like I'll look at these knife makers that I idolize, and when I watch their videos, they're not rich.
No,
they don't have cribs.
No,
they're hardworking men who
they're
are
hardworking out of a fucking shed, or you still look at some of these Fortune Fire winners, and they're not fucking millionaires, dude. They're just dudes who like to do what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not looking to get rich either, but like, I want to live.
I'm not doing this for
I
money.
basically want to just be able to have my own schedule. Like that's my goal, because I like to hunt, right? So I have this horrible thing where during the hunting seasons, I don't do shit besides work because I have no choice to go to my 9 to 5 and hunt. So the state of New Jersey only gives me a certain amount of days, and half the time I can't hunt Sundays for most of the shit that I hunt. So I get Saturday, So I work Monday through Friday, hunt Saturday, and go to the gym and relax on Sundays, and makes it tough for me to make knives sometimes in the winter and stuff like that.
Plus, it's so damn cold in the winter, dude.
It's hard. It's hard, man. Like you go to your anvil. Like I gotta sit there with a rosebud on my anvil for a half an hour just to or else I'm cooling cooling shit down too fast going over to the anvil trying to hit it. That's how you create cracks and stuff. And it's just fucking
Yes. Yeah. Actually, so when I went into the garage today, so I keep on telling myself that I'm done for winter. I'll hang it up, and people keep on trying to buy knives right now. I have all my knives at such a low price that people are trying to buy it. And I keep telling them, listen, 2024, buy every knife you can for me. I will not raise my prices until 2025. So in
Yeah.
2025, prices are going up, but for 2024, buy every knife you can for me.
Yeah.
But in that system, I mean, people keep on contacting me, and I'm trying to close it down, and I end up in my garage every fucking day, because it's so fucking cold. But I mean, it is what it is. But you're right. I mean, when I start my forge, I have to put in a large flat piece of steel that I'm going to lay on my anvil to heat up my anvil, and
Yeah.
I put in a large piece of rebar that I have to dip into my quench right away to get my quench up to about at least 110 degrees. My understanding is, and again, I don't know so much, is if you're going to quench into steel, you have to quench into at least 100-degree oil, correct? 110 is the optimal. 110 to 130.
I think it's somewhere around there. I mean,
Right. So like, as long as I get it over 100, I'm doing okay. But you can't quench in 40-degree oil, 60-degree oil, correct?
yeah, I wouldn't. I mean,
Yeah. So right off the bat, I have to heat up my anvil because I need to hot stamp my steel. And I don't know if you've come across this, you'll heat up your knife, you'll put it on your anvil to stamp it. And by the time you're done stamping it, you see the hamon lines in your steel because your anvil was so cold that it kind of fucking quenched it a little bit. Have
yeah,
you ever seen that?
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I recently saw it and I was like, the fuck is this? I need to heat this all up. I need to anneal it all. I need to normalize it all. I need to get it all ready. I need to fucking get rid of all this shit, and all because it was just so fucking cold when I laid it on that thing. So now what I do is I do this fucking almost half-hour system where I
Yeah.
heat up a piece of steel, I lean it on my anvil, I warm up my anvil warm enough to where it's at least 80 degrees. My quench is at least 110 degrees, and I get everything all ready. And it's like, it's fucking pointless because I could just wait till summertime and I don't got to do any of this shit, Ugh.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. It's a lot.
The setup can
But
be.
I'm doing it in order to fucking make what we're trying to do here, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
That's why I'm gonna try to go into next winter with 50 fucking knives done. You know what I mean? I want to go into the winter with 30 to 50 knives done.
Yeah. Dude, I have like 20 knives. I don't want to say 20. Maybe 20. It's maybe 20. Knives just like all cut, profiled, ready, and I just need to quench and temper. All right, let me ask you, because so I just ran into an interesting scenario. I know we're running late. We're already over an hour. We'll finish this in a minute, but I do want to ask you. I quenched blades. I tempered blades to 2-hour sessions at 380 to 400.
Yeah.
So we're all tempered. I put them on my toaster oven. I quenched another blade and I tempered it. And then I got high as fuck and I walked away from it.
Yeah.
Now, 3.5 hours later, I come back to this knife in my temper. And all the knives were laying on top of my knife, on top of the oven. They weren't at 400. They were maybe 250.
Yeah.
Does that fuck up the hardness of the knives that were sitting on it? And does that 3.5 hour temper fuck up the knife inside of it? My personal question to you is, what do you think that did? And then I'll tell you what the internet said.
I don't think it did anything. I don't think over tempering is a thing. Number one. I don't think
Yes.
that's even possible. I think if you put your knives in at 380, 390, and you fucking fell asleep for 8 hours and woke up the next morning and was like, oh shit, I don't think that fucking matters.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
the
the
one,
internet said it would maybe half a fucking hardness point.
maybe a
Maybe
little bit.
half.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. And if at the end of the world, a whole hardness point.
Maybe. I think that's
Maybe.
pushing it.
Maybe. Yeah.
The ones on
They
top
said
of
the
the oven, I don't think would have done anything that's like leaving a knife in your car on a fucking hot day, on a 100-degree day.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I was able to handle it all. It was not, like I said, it was no more than 200 degrees.
Yeah, I bet they didn't even get above.
But I panicked and I started Googling it. And at the end of the day, the internet said, it's not the time you're leaving it in, it's the temperature. As long as it doesn't go over 400,
As long as it
you're
doesn't
not
go over
fucking
there.
up your
Yep.
blades. Yep.
Yep. As the time
Interesting.
is the only reason the time is the time is to make sure that you're heating it to that temperature all the way through.
Yes.
That's the only reason.
Yes.
I mean, for us with what we're only using up to 1/8 of an inch thick. To be honest, we could probably temper
Yeah.
for an hour, and that's
Yeah.
going to heat all the way through.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
time I don't think will ever affect it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I typically try to quench and temper multiple knives at a time. So if I'm putting
Me too,
knives
yeah.
into my temper, it's going to be 5-6 knives at a time, and
Exactly. Yeah. I'm trying to do
you're going to
8
handle the
8 knives
temperature proper.
a session if I'm doing because with the stainless, I gotta go to the fucking store, and I don't do liquid nitrogen yet. Maybe one day I'll get like a Dewar tank and get all that shit. But right now I just do acetone and dry ice. So I gotta go to the fucking store. I gotta buy the dry ice. I gotta make the
Okay.
acetone mixture. So I better make all that. Like I better make that morning worth it and do at least 8 knives.
Right.
You know.
All right. So that's very interesting. I've never actually heard of anything other than the dry ice. If you don't mind, I know we're running late. This is our first episode. We're going hard. What is the hardening system of it without dry ice?
With Nitro V, I wouldn't do it.
Okay, all right.
If you're
Hit
not
me,
going
hit
to
me,
use
hit me.
dry ice or liquid nitrogen, Nitro V is not worth it at that point. And it's not that hard to go. Like I go to a place in Landing. I'm sure you could probably find places by you that have it too. It's not that hard to just go get it and go get some acetone. You know what I mean? You're adding an extra step. I understand that, but it's not that bad.
Acetone is easy to find. I have containers of it
Yeah.
all over my house.
Acetone's easy as fuck to find. The dry ice will be easier to find than you really think. And I get dry ice pellets. I get 10 or 20 pounds. I forget 10 or 20 pounds of dry ice pellets, and I throw them in a cooler, and it lasts me the day.
Huh. All right. That's awesome. Now, I get a lot of people that ask me to do stainless. I asked you prior to this, but I'm curious. Is something like that where it's like if a guy like me contacts you and is like, "Hey, I need you to harden my stainless steel." How much of an issue is it for you as someone who or knows what to do, and suddenly I'm giving you some random steel that says, "Hey, harden this." Is that an issue? Is that a problem? Is that something you can handle? How does it work for you?
It's not a big deal. I mean, it's just all time consuming. It's all time. So I'll walk you quickly through the process of me like a
Yeah.
day of me hardening stainless.
Yeah, because I don't know.
The first thing I do is obviously I go to the store, I get my dry ice. Once I get that, I go to my shop and I got to turn on the oven because it takes. I'm running mine off a 120. I don't have a 220 hookup where I'm at right now, so I just got a 120 hookup for my oven, and it takes a little while. It takes probably about 35 minutes to get up to temperature. So once I get it up to temperature, then I can go through all my process of putting the knives in. But the knives
Now
also
you have a kiln, right? You have a proper kiln.
Yep. I got the.
Okay, so what kiln do you have? And you're saying it takes you about a half hour to get up there. That is with this proper kiln, correct?
It's the only reason it's taking me that long is because of the power output I got. I didn't get the 220 like
Right.
um,
Yeah, which
you know.
you don't need that.
I
Yeah.
mean it would have been worth it because it would have probably cut my time in half. Probably would have been heat up time of 15 minutes instead of 35 to almost 40, depending on which, the temperature. You know,
So it would cut down the time that much to where
I don't know.
40
I don't
minutes to
know.
15.
I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm curious. Okay. All right. All right. Keep on explaining it. I'm going to see if I can find a difference in that. Go ahead. Continue because this is what I need to know personally.
Yeah. So basically, while the oven's heating up, I'll be wrapping my knives in the stainless tool wrap, which is just like a 409, I think 409 stainless or something like that. And that's just basically like a stainless foil. Wrap the knives in that, and then you can slide them in the oven. They sit in the oven for about 20 minutes. I could do, I think, 3 to 4 knives at a time in the oven. So I max out the oven with 3 or 4 knives. I pull them out and I clamp them in between some aluminum plates until they're cool to the touch. Once they're cool to the touch, I cut them out of their packages and I clamp them together so they stay nice and flat. And I throw them in the acetone dry ice bath for a couple hours. And I'll let them sit in there until they're ready to go into the tempering oven.
Now, all right. So you do that all, you wrap that in the foil. How long does it sit in the foil in the aluminum before you move on to the next step?
Once
And
I
I know this
once
is
I pull
primitive
it out of the
questions,
oven,
but this is something I've never actually asked anybody. So this is why I'm
what do you
asking.
mean? Once I pull it out of the oven and quench it in the aluminum plates, how long does it sit in the
Yeah,
aluminum
yeah.
plates?
You pull it out of the oven.
5 minutes
Now my understanding is it's already wrapped in aluminum when you
in
pull it out.
stainless.
In the stainless, yeah, in the stainless wrap.
The
You pull
knife.
it
I
out.
don't have any of the pouches, but the knife will sit in a stainless steel pouch.
Folded almost like an empanada.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like, all
you
right,
can
so
find a video of that on my Instagram of me actually wrapping knives. You'll see a
oh,
video.
perfect.
I hit them with some baby powder. The baby powder makes it so the stainless doesn't actually accidentally weld to the blade. And if the baby powder winds up burning off, which it should never get hot enough to actually burn off, but it'll help pull some of the oxygen out of the air in it too. But some people say they'll throw a match head in there. I don't do anything like that. Some people throw a match head in there because that match head will do the same thing. It'll catch on fire inside of that pouch and it'll suck the remaining bits of oxygen out. Because that's another thing that pouch does. It keeps keeping the oxygen out from hitting that
Okay.
blade while you're trying to temper it. Trying to harden it.
Okay.
But from the oven to the aluminum plate, it'll sit in the aluminum plate for 5 minutes before it's cool to the touch.
Oh,
I
that's not
have
bad.
I think I have like 2-inch thick aluminum plates, 2 of them, and aluminum will suck the heat out really fast, so it doesn't have to sit in there long.
Okay. And how to make a knife. This is me literally asking how to make a knife. Is so if you quench that for 5 minutes, it's all hard and you're good. Is there a tempering system in stainless? Because
Yeah, same.
in carbon, obviously you quench it, you pull it out. Oh, it's all good, but you have to quench it for 2 hour systems cycles. What is
Temper.
the tempering for stainless?
The tempering system is the same. Tempering is exactly the
Okay.
same.
Okay.
The dry ice and acetone is part of the hardening. It's you're going from it's like a hot quench to a cold quench basically, and then your final is your tempering cycle, which is the same thing, 400 degrees, 2 2-hour cycles. So
Okay.
that doesn't change.
Nice. All right. That's cool. And again, I'm grilling you on all this because I'm low key trying to figure this all out myself. I want to get into it all and we'll work together on it all. So this is our first episode. We'll move together. This is the end of it, guys. Welcome to episode 1 of How to Make a Knife. moving forwards, we're going to talk to more about what I do, what he does, how we do. I'm carbon, he's stainless. He also does stainless. We'll get through all this too. But at the end of the day, I would love to go more into how the stainless works, what we're doing here, how it all goes. But take a breath, brother. This was a lot of information.
Yeah.
This was awesome. We're almost at an hour and a half. Let's end it here. Thank you. We'll be here next Sunday, next Monday. So at the beginning of each week, we will be posting these podcasts as amateur knife makers. Join us. We're going to hit this topic of how to make a knife. This is what we're covering here while we
hammer down on this week after week until we figure out how to make
it. That's it. We're making knives, but we also are looking at each other, as you can tell now. How do you make a knife? How do you make a knife?
Two guys who went after figuring most of it out on their own by reading forums and books. So we probably completely have two completely different knife building styles.
That's the beauty of it is, dude, I love when we're talking off, we've recently, I love when we're talking and I have no idea what you're saying. I don't know what you're going through. We're just in two different spots making knives because there are 1,000 ways to make a knife.
Yep.
So let's figure this out every week. Steve, it's been a pleasure.
Always.
This is how we make a knife for today. I will see you next week. Let's find some shit to talk about. God bless.
I think we got plenty to talk about for the next couple of weeks, dude.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because this is a loaded question. How to make a knife,
Yeah.
But I Googled it. I'm sure you Googled it. How do you make a knife?
We're going to figure it out, dude.
That's it, man. Listen, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing what you're working on. Keep an eye out on my folders. We will figure out how to make a knife, man. God bless. Take it easy. We will see you next week on
How to Make a Knife.